Maybe you have no idea where to start when it comes to junk removal pricing, or maybe you're worried you're going to end up saying things like this.
Title of this video can be, "We underpriced the crap out of this disgusting job."
In today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how I price jobs, kind of my controversial opinion on whether you should price things over the phone or not, and kind of just give you guys an example of how I would tell a customer what prices I charge and how I would close the sale. Also, if you guys are interested, I'm going to do a live phone call with a customer at the end of this video, so I'll be able to put into practice all the different things that I teach you in this video, so stick around to the end if you're interested in that. Also, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel if this brings any kind of value to you. It greatly helps the channel and helps these videos get out to more people. Much appreciated. Back to the video. So let's jump right into it. So for me, I have a 16-foot trailer. It's got 4-foot tall walls and it's about 7.5 to 8 feet across. To be honest, I have not measured, but that's what I've heard that the dimensions are for these trailers. So typically what I'll do when a customer calls is I'll kind of ask questions about what items they have, where the items need to come from, kind of what their time frame is for when they need stuff removed, and then I'll ask them, hey, have you ever had junk removal pricing? Most times they say no, because this is a pretty fledgling industry, relatively speaking. And then I'll say something like, typically we charge based on volume. I'll give the dimensions of my trailer, and then I'll tell them that I give discounts for the more bulk they need me to remove. So for example, for the first quarter, I usually do 200. For half of the trailer, I do 350. For 3/4 of the trailer, I do 475. And then full to the brim, I do 600. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I have definitely had times recently where I've thought about upping my prices because I tend to be pretty booked out right at the moment, and I wanna see if I can get my profit number up. Maybe say no to a few jobs that are just, honestly really brutal and leave me working for most of the day and don't turn nearly as much profit. But in general, that's how my pricing structure works. I recommend doing something where you're rewarded for doing bigger pickups, because that's going to be the bread and butter of a junk removal company. Sure, you can survive off of a bunch of minimum pickups, but in general, with how much driving you do in this business, that can be kind of tough. I know that there are a lot of people out there on the internet that I've heard say they would rather do a bunch of minimum pickups, but it really depends on where you're at, because a lot of what we do in this industry and a lot of what I feel like I do is basically just, I'm a truck driver. I drive probably well over 150, 200 miles on a lot of days. And that's a lot of driving. So anytime you can do bigger jobs and kind of have it done in a couple hours and you've made all your profit, in a couple of jobs like that, that is definitely the best way to do it. Along those lines, I have a pretty controversial opinion on giving quotes and estimates over the phone. A lot of people prefer to go and close jobs and give estimates in person, but I kind of have a different opinion on that. Hear me out. Landfills are almost always going to be away from civilization. I think there's probably some laws about that, but most times it's going to be way out in the country, which is going to be away from most of your customers. So you want to really make sure that every mile that you're putting on your truck and your trailer is really purposeful, and you want to make sure that it's going to be for a high dollar amount. So let me illustrate this example. So assuming you get 200,000 miles out of your truck, which is honestly kind of ambitious for how hard people work their junk removal trucks, the amount that you charge and the amount that you average per 100 miles you put on your vehicle can be the difference between making $400,000 in the lifetime of your vehicle and
$1 million.
So look at these numbers here. If you average driving 100 miles per $500 that you make, your truck will make you $1 million in gross revenue over its lifetime. But then if you decrease it by 100, you lose $200,000 of lifetime revenue. Another 100 is 600,000, and then finally, if you're only making $200 per 100 miles on your truck, you're only going to make $400,000 in gross revenue over the lifetime of your vehicle, which may sound pretty decent, but remember, this is gross revenue, and you've still got dump fees, you've got gas, you've got all kinds of other expenses. So you really need to make sure that you're maximizing the amount that you make for the amount that you drive, because eventually you're going to have to replace that truck, and if you don't have the money saved up by having a good average, then you might not be able to replace it. So if you're going to someone's house and you do a walkthrough and then you kind of give them the pricing afterwards, and they tell you no, you may have just driven 2 hours round trip, once you consider getting to the job and coming back, and you might not have made any money. You might have burnt $50, $60 worth of gas at least, and then you have nothing to show for it. So if you are going to go in person and give estimates, you're like, Sam, I know I can close more deals that way. It's going to be more efficient. At the very least, tell them what your pricing is up front, because I've actually even had customers that thought that I was going to pay them for their stuff. I one time had my brother drive to give an estimate about 2 hours away from where he was staying at the time because I was out of town. And then when they got there, the folks were walking them through all the stuff, and they were like, wait a minute, no, what are you talking about? Us pay you? What do you mean? And it blows my mind, but you would be stunned because people don't understand this industry. If a plumber comes over to your house, you aren't confused thinking, you're not going to pay me for the privilege of having you come and plumb my house. But in junk removal, sometimes that can be a little bit misconstrued. People don't understand the industry, particularly older people. So definitely give them kind of what your pricing structure is. But the most important thing, and the thing that I virtually never do, is accept a job without at least seeing some kind of picture of what the stuff is. Now, sometimes a customer, they can give you kind of a description. They'll be like, hey, I have this 2-seater sofa. Hey, I have a refrigerator. Hey, I have whatever. And so those jobs may not necessarily be as hard, but if somebody says they have more than 4 or 5 items, typically I want to have pictures, and then I want to give them a price range. Now, this is not going to be a very narrow price range because you're going to end up costing yourself a lot of money on those jobs. You're going to get there and it's going to be way, way more than you think it's going to be.
Seems to be significantly more than I thought it was going to be.
And they're going to add things last minute.
Yeah, they've added a lot to this.
But if you tell them, hey, can you send me some pictures? I want to give you a ballpark estimate for the stuff that you need removed. And then what I'll typically do is I'll give them between a $100 range, and for jobs that I'm really uncertain about, I'll give them probably a $150 to $200 range. So for example, if I see a garage and it's a ton of cardboard, a ton of construction debris, etc., a lot of the time those jobs I like to say, okay, I think it's going to be between a half trailer load and a 3/4 trailer load. So between $350 and $475. A lot of customers really appreciate you giving that range. I try not to hit them with the maximum of that price range because it can kind of seem like, oh, you just wanted to give me the low number so that you get the job. But most times it ends up working out, and I show the customer what the volume is in the trailer after I load it, so it kind of eliminates any chance of them thinking that I scammed them. So pricing with junk removal can be pretty simple when it comes down to just volume. Now, one thing that I've also started doing that's really saved my butt on a lot of jobs is I also charge for labor past the first hour. So in my early days in junk removal, not every trailer load was the same amount of worth it, even if it was the same price. So I could have one trailer load that was a full load that I got done in maybe 30, 40 minutes if it's all stuff in the garage. And then I've also had jobs where it's literally taken me 5 or 6 hours to fill an entire trailer load. And that's because oftentimes customers do not respect your time in the junk removal industry. They will be picking through things. They'll be arguing with each other if it's a husband and wife on what's going to go. Sometimes they'll come take things back out of your trailer once you've put it in. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to getting rid of stuff, particularly because so many things in junk removal are very sentimental. So number one, make sure that you give your customers a chance to really thoroughly go through things, even if you have to push the date back a few days or whatnot, just so that they are really confident. But oftentimes customers, it doesn't even matter if you give them a good bit of time to pick and choose because they're still going to take up way too much of your time. And so in those situations, what I like to do is I tell them, hey, listen, these are my junk removal prices. It's based on volume, and we give you the first hour of loading your items for free. And then I tell them that once that first hour has passed, I charge $125 an hour to load the trailer. Now, if it's 2 of us, I'll up it to $175 so that my brother or whoever else is working with me gets good pay per hour as well. And most times when you tell a customer that, number one, they're very much incentivized to hurry up and designate all the things that need to go. They may even move them out to the garage for you, etc. But the other thing is, when you do work past an hour, you're also getting compensated for that. So it makes sure that you're still getting compensated for your time. Junk removal is definitely a white glove industry. In other words, it's kind of luxury. So you can definitely do dumpster rentals if you're a customer, and you can pay a lot less money, but you have to load the trailer yourself. Junk removal is a luxury business because you're not having to touch anything. You're literally pointing, and then we're coming and removing stuff for you. So make sure that you understand that not everyone is going to be your customer. And if you're doing pricing right, you're probably going to get probably 40 to 50% of the customers that come down your funnel saying no to your pricing, because a lot of people can't afford stuff. But what I've done is I've placed my advertisements. Now, I don't pay for advertisements, but my Google business page, my yard signs, I focus on boots on the ground in areas that I know I have my customers. People that are going to say, when's your next availability when I talk about price, rather than, well, can you give me this discount? Can you give me that discount? I don't like dealing with people like that, because they're going to make you feel the entire time like you're not worth what they're paying you. What you want to do is you want to focus on the customers that price is not the issue, it's the convenience. And you want to make sure that you sell your product, which is, hey, you're going to be able to get your car into your garage after this. Hey, you're going to be able to get that new furniture that you want to order into your house after this. You're going to be able to breathe in your house. And that's a big part of the sales process, is playing on those emotional factors. And it's not manipulating, but it's kind of helping somebody to see, hey, if you hire me, you're going to be better off. If you hire me, you're going to have more peace of mind, which is something that I myself value tremendously. And so if I would be interested in the service, like if I had a bunch of money, I would definitely hire someone to do junk removal for me, because it's not necessarily fun hauling stuff away to the landfill, but that's how I make my living. And there are tons of people out there that see the value in your product. So be confident when you tell people your pricing. Don't back down, and understand that not everyone is your customer.
I'm just fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing fine. My name's and I'm in senior miners out by Lowe's and stuff. So I thought I'd give you a call. I got some junk to get rid of.
Okay, well that's what I do. What kind of stuff do you have that needs to be hauled?
There's a little bit of furniture, a couple recliners, some entertainment centers, 3 tables, a couple end tables.
Okay.
A refrigerator, dishwasher, or not dishwasher, sorry.
Okay, gotcha. So as far as like junk removal pricing, have you ever gotten pricing from a junk removal company before?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So typically what we do is we charge based on volume. We really, for the most part, unless it's really labor intensive, we don't charge separate for labor. So it's really like a standard flat rate. So I have a 16-foot trailer with 4-foot walls, and it's about seven and a half feet across. So basically, depending on how you fill it up, like I said, labor is all included, us, loading everything, you don't have to touch it. So for the first quarter is $200, for half is $350, 3/4 is $475, full to the brim is $600. So like I said, that includes us, coming in, taking everything out of your house safely, carefully, and putting it in the trailer, and either donating or disposing of things depending on if we can recycle or not. So that's kind of how our pricing works. Do you have any questions about that, or?
How soon can we do that?
How soon can we do it? The date that I know 100% that I would be able to do it would be Wednesday. Would that be kind of a good time frame?
That will work, because I'm trying to get this stuff out before I gotta have new carpet put in, the walls gotta be painted. I mean, we got a lot of work to do to get this thing back on the market and stuff.
Gotcha.
So getting this stuff out is a priority, but Wednesday's great because hardwood people can't be here till Friday.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then that works awesome. All right, well, Russ, we will go ahead and make plans for Wednesday at 10 a.m. You just let me know if you have any questions or any kind of concerns or anything, need to change the schedule. You can give me a text or a call anytime.
Anyway, guys, there's definitely a lot more detail in how I price jobs. Like, if something's on the 2nd or 3rd floor, if there's elevators involved, how close can I get my truck and trailer to, a shed, to whatever. And so for a lot of those situations, or for any situations that are unique to your business, I have a link for a one-on-one coaching call. So if you have questions about marketing, about pricing, about tools, about branding, all those different things, I would be happy to sit down and do a 30-minute session with you or an hour session. My prices are reasonable, and I bring 2.5 years of experience, so you're definitely getting plenty of value for your money and for your time. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.